In the dead of night, a trembling voice crackles over a 911 line. "Please. Someone's coming." I hear footsteps upstairs, and then a blood-curdling scream pierces the darkness before the line goes dead. That single moment sets off a chain of terror, confusion, and unanswered questions that would haunt a small town forever. Tonight, on Midnight Crime Vault, we take you deep into the most terrifying 911 call you'll ever hear. On November 14th, 1998, in the quiet suburb of Cedar Grove, a modest two-story house at 312 Maple Drive sat under a waning crescent moon. The house belonged to the Whitaker family. Richard Whitaker, 43. A diligent factory foreman, his wife Linda, 38, a part-time librarian, and their teenage daughter Megan, 17, a high school senior with big dreams of college. Neighbors often describe the family as unassuming, polite, the kind who kept to themselves. The streets around the house were lined with aging oak trees, their leaves rustling quietly in autumn winds. The town itself was sleepy after sundown. Lawn mowers silent, laughter faded, windows dark, but at 2:17 a.m., Maple Drive would awaken with horror. That night, Linda Whitaker had returned home from a late shift at the library. She remembered parking her dusty blue sedan in the driveway and noticing how quiet the world was. Inside, the living room clock ticked, casting soft shadows across the worn carpet. Richard and Megan were already asleep upstairs. Linda placed her bag on the couch and headed to the kitchen for a glass of water. It was there she first sensed something wrong, an odd, heavy silence. The house felt off. No hum of the heater, no faint creak of the floorboards, only an oppressive stillness. She dismissed it, chalking it up to exhaustion. Then she heard it. A soft footstep overhead, slow and deliberate. She froze. The hair on her arm stood on end. At first, she told herself it was her imagination, or perhaps the house settling. But then came the second footstep, followed by a third, too soft to be a heavy stride, yet too distinct to be imagined. Panic fluttered in her chest like a caged bird. She dared not move. And then a muffled moan, a groan, weak but alive, from the stairwell, followed by a whisper. "Help me." It sounded like Megan's voice, but croaked, faint, desperate. Linda's mind raced. She rushed toward the stairs, but the darkness swallowed her movements. The power had gone out. She fumbled for her phone but realized the battery was dead. Heart pounding, she crept up the stairs, the wooden steps cold beneath her bare feet. Halfway up, she froze. On the hallway floor lay the door to Megan's room, cracked open, darkness beyond. A faint blue glow from a street lamp outside cast a long, slender shadow, and then a whimper, sharp, agonized, coming from inside. Abandoning all caution, Linda charged into the room. She tossed aside a pile of clothes and flung open the closet. Then she moved toward the bed and recoiled. The covers were twisted, crumpled as if someone had struggled violently. Linda's eyes darted to the open window, sheer curtains swaying softly in the night breeze. A sense of dread washed over her as realization struck. Megan was gone. Desperate, Linda stumbled back downstairs, stumbled into the living room, and grabbed the cordless phone. With trembling fingers, she dialed 911. The dispatcher's sleepy voice crackled through. 911. "What's your emergency?" Linda sobbed, words tumbling out. They took my daughter. Someone is in my house." The line sputtered. She screamed into the dark hallway. Megan, where are you?" Silence answered. She was alone. What followed was a chaos of sirens, flashing lights, cold metal, and hushed whispers. When the police arrived, the front door swung open wide, the screen door hanging askew. The living room was in disarray. The kitchen window was ajar, the latch broken. Upstairs, Megan's room bore the signs of a struggle. Scattered books, a toppled chair, a cruel smear of something dark on the carpet. No sign of Megan, no sign of intruder, except for muddy footprints on the hardwood floor. One trail leading to the window, another vanishing into the carpet. The case file notes would later describe the scene with chilling precision. Forensics teams dusted for fingerprints. They recovered fragments of fabric caught under a nail on the windowsill, and a muddy shoe print on the seal matching no shoes in the Whitaker home. Outside, Detectives canvassed the neighborhood. No one had seen or heard anything unusual. The street cameras, old and grainy, captured only darkness. The only witness to what had happened remained the terrified phone call. As dawn broke, the entire town of Cedar Grove awoke to grim whispers. The media descended, broadcasting the 911 call. Listeners across the state heard Linda's fading sobs and Magon's final plea. Chills ran down spines. Opinions swirled. Some insisted it was a random burglary gone wrong. Others whispered of something darker, abduction, something premeditated. Rumors flared. Had someone been watching the Whitakers? Did Megan know the attacker? Over the next days, detectives interviewed friends, classmates, neighborhood acquaintances. They learned that Megan had recently broken off a secret relationship, a boy her parents didn't know about. He had been seen waiting by her locker, watching her every move, lingering too long. The boy, Adam 18, worked nights at a local gas station. He had no criminal record. When questioned, he claimed innocence. Yes, he knew Megan from school, but denied any involvement. He insisted he was at work the night she vanished. His boss confirmed his shift. Investigators pored over phone records. Megan's cell phone last pinged at 2:03 a.m. about 5 blocks away from Maple Drive, near an abandoned warehouse district. After that, the phone went dead. The battery was found later near the warehouse, crushed beneath a pile of rubble. Detectives dusted the warehouse floor. Traces of the same muddy soil from the windowsill, tiny fragments of fabric matching the shoes left at the house. But no body and no sign of Megan. Days turned into weeks. The town's fear grew. As night fell, parents would pull their curtains tight, lock their doors, whisper prayers. But no further 911 calls came. No bargaining. No ransom demands. Only silence. Then, 3 weeks later, a jogger discovered a blood-stained backpack along the railroad tracks, 3 miles from Maple Drive. Inside, detectives found Megan's wallet, student ID, a single textbook, and a photograph, torn in half. On the back, in faded pencil, the words, "Sorry, I had to do it." No name, no date, just that haunting message. Attempts to enhance the handwriting failed. The abrasion made it unreadable. The backpack contained traces of Megan's DNA, and the soil matched the warehouse floor, but still no sign of Megan herself. Throughout months of investigation, evidence was scarce. The supposed culprit Adam had an alibi that held records, security footage, co-worker statements, but there were nagging inconsistencies. The muddy boot prints of the Whitaker house did not match his shoes. The fabric fragments found under the windowsill were from a jacket not sold in any local stores, a rare, imported brand. Purchases of that brand in the county could be counted on one hand. Detectives tracked every buyer. One turned out to be a drifter in town, known as Gray. He had no fixed address. He did odd jobs at night, landscaping, cleaning, odd-end errands. He matched none of the people in the neighborhood. He had no criminal record either. When detectives confronted him, he vanished, leaving only a fleeting note on a scrap of paper reading, "You won't find her." He was never apprehended. The case file went cold. Months later, it was archived. A missing persons case, unresolved. For the Whitaker family, life fractured. The media moved on. School lockers emptied. Posters faded. Memorial candles dwindled. But the questions lingered. Who called Linda? Why did the intruders speak in Maga's voice? Did that scream belong to her, or was it staged to terrify a mother? If abducted, why was no ransom note sent? Why was her backpack found so far away, stripped of everything but a message that said only sorry? I had to do it. Some years later, a local crime podcast revisited the case. A listener claimed to recognize the voice from the 911 call. The man sounded like a drifter named Gray. He said he had heard rumors of him bragging about getting that girl, but nothing concrete emerged. Police reopened the file briefly, but forensic standards had changed. The evidence degraded, and the trail had gone cold. Today, the file remains sealed. Cedar Grove Police Department lists the case simply as missing person in progress, though it has lain dormant for over 2 decades. The identity of Gray remains unknown. The chilling 911 tape circulates on obscure dark web forums, a whispered legend among true crime aficionados, but not a shred more revealing. Was this a random intrusion by a deranged drifter? A targeted abduction by someone who watched Megan's every move? Or a carefully staged departure? Maybe even orchestrated by someone closer to home? Someone with knowledge of the household, the layout, the routines? We may never know. Tonight, as we sit in silence, you can almost hear the static from that long-ago phone call. A mother's desperate cry for help, a daughter's final plea. And after that, nothing but darkness. So I ask you, dear listeners, do you believe the perpetrator was that drifting stranger Gray, or was this tragedy the work of someone far closer to the Whitaker family? Someone whose footsteps you didn't see? Write to Midnight Crime Vault. Share what you think. Maybe together, we'll find the answer. If you want more stories like this, haunting, unsolved, relentless, subscribe to Midnight Crime Vault. Turn on notifications, because in the shadows, the truth is waiting.